This is your English story for B1 learners. Read, listen, and enjoy. In the 51 years of his life, Dave thought he had seen everything. But that was normal for a cab driver. London was a huge city, with every kind of person living there or visiting there, and every day Dave was its silent observer. Sitting in the driver's seat of his black cab, he watched the ever-changing scenes of life in the busy city. A collection of emotions, stories, and human experiences. He thought that nothing could surprise him anymore. He couldn't have been more wrong. The surprise came one gloomy evening, when the rain was pouring heavily and the streets of London were nearly deserted. Dave's iconic black cab was idling at a taxi stand near Covent Garden when a man knocked on the window nearest the driver's seat. The man's clothes were torn, and his face bore the marks of a hard life. He seemed to be in a state of distress.
Can you take me to the Hope Haven shelter on Bond Street?"
the man asked. Dave hesitated for a moment, assessing the situation. There was no way that this man to pay for the fare, but something urged Dave to help him. Dave agreed, and the man got into the cab. As the black cab drove through the rain-soaked streets, the dishevelled man in the back seat started to share his story with Dave. His voice trembled as he described the series of unfortunate events that had happened to him, painting a picture of hardship and sorrow. He talked about the steady job he used to have, a caring family, and a simple home. However, fate had been unkind, and one by one he lost all these things he cared about. The man's face carried the marks of struggle and pain, each line telling a story of the battles he had faced. He lost his job because the company unexpectedly reduced its workforce. And this was just the start. Struggling to afford the rent, he was evicted from his apartment and found himself on the harsh streets. Tears filled his eyes as he talked about how much he missed his children and how much he wished for a chance to rebuild what was broken. Desperation pushed him to find the Hope Haven shelter on Bond Street, a symbol of hope in a city that could be so harsh. He held on to the hope that this sanctuary could provide him with support and a starting point to rebuilding his life. There, maybe, he could get back on his feet. Dave listened attentively, feeling the weight of the man's story. As they approached Bond Street, the man seemed to grow more and more desperate. He began to cry, revealing that he had no money to pay for the fare. Dave faced a dilemma. He understood the man's situation, but he had a family to support and bills to pay. Finally, he made a decision. He handed the man a tissue and said, "It's all right. Life can surprise us with challenges. You've been through a lot. Take care of yourself." The man opened the door and stepped out onto the wet pavement.
"Thank you," he said. "I'll never forget your kindness. I promise, when I get back on my feet, I'll pay you back."
Dave nodded, offering a reassuring smile. "Take care of yourself," he said again. As he drove away, Dave felt a warmth in his heart. It seemed that even after 51 years, surprises could still find a way to touch his heart. But more importantly, with his act of kindness, he had surprised himself.